Okay, this video I made because we are going to try to make a cascading waterfall bird fountain. So started off with a PVC pipe, and that holder that it's in is just temporary because we need it to hold steady while we're drilling the holes and placing the cups. It will eventually be in that black trash can filled with some rocks and water and a pump. And I got most of this stuff at the Dollar Tree. I went there and they had these pepper cups. They're not very big. And I bought 8 of those. And so these are we're gonna attach these to that pole going kind of around. And then this red plate I also got at the Dollar Tree. And that'll be on top of the trash can with the PVC going right through the middle. And we have drilled holes in, you see where's, in these cups so that the water will come out of the top of the PVC pipe. It'll go into these cups, and then they're gonna be stacked like this, so it'll drip down into the next cup, and it'll go around the fountain. So this is the first video. So we chose a 6-foot PVC pipe, and it'll be in that trash can, which I think is 2 feet. And we marked holes along the pipe every 6 inches where we're going to drill the holes. Now you don't have to choose a 6-foot pipe. You could choose whatever height you want, but we bought 8 cups, and with marking them every 6 inches, it'll be a 4-foot drop and then into the trash can. Okay, we're gonna show you how we were drilling the holes for the drip holes. We'll do one in regular speed, and then we'll speed it up to do time lapse. Don't do this over your counter. Okay, now we're gonna attach the cups to the PVC pole with self-tapping screws. I'll film him doing the first one. When we come back, we're gonna paint the pole. So we're gonna actually take the cups off, paint the pole black, and then when we put the screws in, we're gonna also glue them so they won't move. I should have you move the thing around, so anyway. So one's attached, we're gonna go around the pole, moving them slightly so that they'll kind of, I don't know if they'll completely circle the pole, they should. So the next one will go where that drip, the water, you know what? Is that gonna come out right? Okay, so he's got the first one attached. He's got a cup of water, and he's going to pour the water through the top one to make sure that we're going to catch it on the bottom one. And that looks good. And we have the mark at 6 inches. So, and we have the hole, as you can see on this one, right under that, right above that first leg. And I would suggest doing the water, because if not, you could miss your cup. Lyle, make sure it gets it enough. He also is holding his finger over the bottom cup so the water doesn't go on our floor. So we're gonna keep doing that all the way around. You can see where our marks are. Every one of those little black marks is 6 inches, but we use that to where we're gonna, the height we're gonna put it, but we're moving the cups around the pole as we go. And he'll probably do the water test on each one to make sure we're getting it in the right spot. Okay, he's getting ready to figure out where to put the third one, so he'll be pouring the water through the second one again. Or through the first one, yeah, so it goes all the way down. There, whoop, back it up a little. And make sure, give yourself enough room so that it's more than just barely hitting the cups. Okay, I'm gonna stop there for now. Okay, we did a lot of that in fast motion or time lapse. A couple of the cups we ended up moving because we got them off just a little bit, but I was going to mention that the PVC pipe is not actually where the water is going to run through, so it doesn't matter if you make a mistake, because what we're going to do is, this is temporary also, we're going to take these cups off, paint it, and then put them back on and glue them. Then you need to make sure they're in perfect placement. And anyway, he's going to do a pour now in regular time so you guys can see it instead of in time lapse. Wait, there you go. And we've got it to where it's hitting all of the cups. The only time you might have an issue is if your pump gets clogged, which sometimes ours does. If pressure isn't going through it at least this much, it could miss a cup if it's dribbling. Or possibly if the wind blows and moves it, but we should have the pipe pretty steady by the time we get done with it. Also, if you buy a black PVC pipe and you wanted the same colors as we're using, you wouldn't have to paint it. These are just the colors I found at the Dollar Tree, so that's why I'm using it. Honestly, you could probably paint these cups or your PVC pipe whatever color you wanted. This was just something cheap that I happened to find, and it seems like it's working pretty well. Okay, we showed you this screw in time lapse, and I don't know if you were able to see it. These are the get it to focus. Come on. I might have you hold it. It's not focusing. Okay. Self-tapping. There we go. And they're pretty short. So you don't want them to be too long because we still have to run the tube that the water will go through up through the pipe. Okay, this is our first test drive. We're just using the kitchen faucet. So far, we got it. All of them are hitting just fine. I think enough for any kind of bird to probably take a bird bath. Yay! So now we did paint the pole, and we got a cap for the top and one for the bottom. We need to figure out the bottom to make it a little more level, but we're going to add maybe some ivy. And we're about done once the pump gets here. We got the new pump, but we don't have it running through the tube yet. Had to do some major adjusting to the holes to get it to work right, but it's working right now. And I gotta have the plate down there too.
So to accommodate our tubing, which is approximately 3/4 inch outer diameter, as a 1-inch pipe, drilled a small pilot hole, and then took a spade bit and made the larger hole, and we'll run the tubing through the center of it now. So now I've taken the tube, I've run it down the center. When it reached this hole down here, I used a set of needle nose pliers and I simply pulled it through. Now I'm going to try to do the reverse up here at the top. So we've got this assembled, but we were having some difficulty having it stand straight. So what I've done is I've taken some craft dowels from like Hobby Lobby and I drilled 4 holes slightly smaller than the craft dowels into the hole. I did them at 90 degrees to each one, so 4 of them all the way around, and I staggered them so 2 are high and 2 are low so that I didn't create a significant weak point in the middle pipe. Cut the dowels to approximately 5 inches long each, and then I took my Dremel with a little bit of sandpaper, sanded off the end so that the end would then slide in, but they weren't, the holes aren't so large that it would slide all the way through. I just used a regular drill. This is a 23/54 size drill bit to make those holes just slightly smaller than the craft dowel. And by doing that, basically now it appears to be standing level and straight in all 4 directions and has a little bit of stability to it. So the tubing that came with the pump, as you can see down there, is approximately 3/4 inch and is very flexible. So we were able to run that through the pipe all the way up to the top, but when clamping it over, it would pinch itself off. So I went and grabbed a old piece of flexible hose used to connect sinks and toilets with. I cut it in half. I connected it by just sliding it inside of the flexible hose, and then up at the top here I took a piece of PVC pipe, cut it, made a little roller that would make the curve a little more gentle so that we didn't get that pinching action. As well, this type of pipe doesn't pinch as easily as that flexible hose does, and that allowed a little bit more water to come out of the top.
I thought the fountain needed a little something extra, so I bought this 6-foot long, it's kind of mixed sleeves. It's got some ivy and something else, and we're going to wrap that around just to see how it's going to look. Hopefully it won't interfere with the water going into the cups. And I will show it to you when we get it done. But he's got the first one there. We also make sure it goes down. Yeah, there's a cap that we put on top. Now we're just going to wind it around in between each cup, probably putting a zip tie each place. If we don't go each cup, we might go every other. I don't know. We're just going to play with it, and I'll show you when we get done.
So we've got it running. We added all of the foliage to it using some of these black zip ties to hold it in place. I'm going to go back and I'll cut each one of those off so that it looks more finished. I added a notch down here to the electrical cord so that the plate could sit flush. And at the moment, everything appears to be flowing okay so that the water is going from each cup to the next without any hindrance.
Okay, this is the final product. We added the leaves. All the water is going from the cup to cup, not with minimal spillage. We have the plate on. I love how it turned out. I may not have picked these colors, but they were at what was at the Dollar Tree, and it does look pretty. Okay, this is a conclusion of the Cascading Waterbird fountain that we were making. We started with a 6-foot PVC pipe. You could use any length that you want, depending on how tall you want your cascading fountain. You can also use different kind of pipe. We ended up painting ours black. You can paint any color you want. Then we used regular, we used black zip ties because we painted ours black. If you want to use a different color, you use different colored zip ties. We also used this on the bottom of the PVC pipe. We put the PVC pipe in here, and then we screwed this down to a piece of wood, and that holds it in the trash can. But then we did eventually also come in with something to hold it more steady in there that is discussed in the video. This is the pump that I ended up using. However, I don't know that I would recommend this pump. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this pump, but it was too much power for our fountain, but we made it work. This one is a 45 watt pump, and it'll push
800
feet,
800 gallons per hour.
800 gallons per hour. You do not need one this heavy duty. This was $25. So adding up everything that we used, it was probably total cost, if you had to go out and buy absolutely everything, under $80, I believe. Now we had a bunch of this stuff, so it probably cost us more like 60 bucks. Like I said, you could get a smaller pump, which would probably take off $5, $10. You don't want to go too small because you got to have enough lift in your pump to get however tall your fountain is. Ours is 6 feet, so this one actually does 10 feet, which we didn't need this big of a pump. Also, this is the tubing that came with the pump, and you can see it's very flexible, but it also kinks. So we ran into a little bit of issues with that, and we ended up sticking another piece of different pipe in here. So if you went with a smaller fountain, I think it would be better, because some of the smaller fountains I've seen have smaller tubing and it doesn't kink quite as much. So some of the troubles that we ran into when we were first, all the stuff that we used was plastic, except for some of the screws that we put in. So when we were first starting, we marked our holes every 6 inches, and then we went around the pole like this. So when we were doing it, we would put a cup up. There was a hole drilled in it. We'd run water through that cup, move the cup to where it would catch. Maybe if you wanted to add more cups, you wouldn't maybe have as many problems. What we found is that we were just pouring water in the top. So when we drilled the holes, it seemed like it was going to work, but our pump was very strong, and so it was overshooting the cups, or the water was coming out so much it was filling the cups up, and then they were overflowing. So what we ended up doing is going back, and we made the holes bigger. I only bought 8 cups because that's all they had. I couldn't find any more, and you don't have to use the pepper cups I use, and I think they actually might be seasonal, so I don't know if you can even get them right now. You could use probably any kind of plastic cup or container you wanted. You just don't want it too deep if you want birds to get into it. If you don't want birds, then you could probably make it as big or as deep as you wanted, as long as it would support, the pole would support it, which, not the pole, but the pipe. Let's see. Oh yes, the other issue we had is, even though we had it on a base in the bottom of the trash can, it's still tipped like this. So if it wasn't level, then the water would not dribble through each cup and land in the bottom of the trash can or on the plate. So my husband went in and drilled some holes and put dowels in to make it hold steady to the edge inside diameter of the trash can. Is there anything else, Lyle, that you think of that we were discussing that was hard for this?
I don't think so. That was it.
That seemed to be the hardest part was figuring out where to mount the cups so that one would actually go into the other one all the way around. Like I said, if you could have gotten more cups, it might have been a little bit easier. You wouldn't have had to put them, so far apart. And just making the holes bigger, though, did seem to help that problem. And getting a flexible stronger hose at the very top of the fountain where the water comes out, that made a big difference because it wasn't then pinching it and not allowing enough water or too much water to come out. Those are the only problems we had. I hope you like this video. Give me a like and a follow if you do. If you have any questions, let me know and I will try to get back to you about it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the fountain. Okay, there was a couple corrections I needed to make. For the fountain, we ended up using 2 of the self-tapping screws per cup because the cups were tipping, and it just, once we got them in the right spot, we wanted to make sure they stayed there, so we added 2 screws. Also, when we did add the second screw, it adjusted how the cups laid against the PVC pipe, so we ended up using like these little washers for spacers to help hold the cups out a little bit more. That was the hardest part of the fountain, is keeping the spacing and the angle of the cups, because some of them we ended up like tipping them, and I'm holding my phone, so that's why I'm doing this. Tipping the cups either, you know, this way or that way, or holding them straight. And once we got that figured out with my pump adjusted to the right flow, it went really well. So those were the 2 things I wanted to correct. We used 2 screws per cup. We didn't end up gluing anything. And yeah, the washers, we added to the bottom screw. There's 1 screw and then 1 right below it. So that was the only differences I can think of, and I hope it works for you. If you guys tried to make this, if you have any questions, let me know and I'll try to answer them. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.